Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to take you into a story, quiet, simple, and powerful. It is not about a famous person. It is not about a dramatic moment that changed everything in one night. It is about something deeper than that. It is about the slow kind of growth. The kind you cannot post on social media. The kind you cannot explain in one sentence. The kind you sometimes doubt is even happening. This story is for anyone who has been trying, and waiting, and wondering why life feels so slow. For anyone who has felt tired of being patient. For anyone who has looked around and thought, everyone else is moving forward. Why am I still here? If you have ever felt that way, then stay with me, because this story is really about you. It is about the power of patience, and how it quietly leads to growth and success, sometimes long before you can see it. There are seasons in life that feel loud. Big changes, big decisions, big celebrations. But there are also seasons that feel almost silent. You wake up, do your best, and nothing looks different. You take small steps and wonder if they matter. You try again and again, and the results do not show up the way you hoped. In those seasons, it is easy to believe that nothing is happening. It is easy to believe you are stuck. It is easy to believe you are behind. And yet, those quiet seasons are often the most important ones. In the beginning, everything looks normal from the outside. Life moves the way it always moves. Days turn into nights. Weeks pass. People go to work, come home, make plans, talk about the future. And in the middle of all that, there is a person who is trying. Not trying in a loud way. Not trying in a way that gets applause. Just trying in the private way most people try, showing up, doing what needs to be done, carrying hope like a small light inside the chest. At first, that hope feels strong. It feels like a promise. It feels like a new chapter waiting to open. There is a sense of direction, even if the path is not clear. There is a belief that effort will lead somewhere. There is a belief that if you keep moving, something will change. But then the days begin to repeat. The same morning. The same responsibilities. The same small tasks. The same quiet doubts that start to whisper when the room is still. The kind of doubts that do not shout, but do not leave. The kind of doubts that sit at the edge of your thoughts and ask questions you do not want to answer. Why is it taking so long? Why is it so hard? Why does it feel like nothing is moving? In the early days of waiting, patience feels almost noble. It feels like strength. You tell yourself you can handle it. You tell yourself this is part of the journey. You tell yourself good things take time. You even feel proud of your ability to stay calm. But patience is not tested when you have hope and energy. Patience is tested when you have hope and fatigue at the same time. When you want to believe, but you are tired of believing. When you want to keep going, but you are tired of walking. When you are doing everything you know how to do, and you cannot see a clear reward. That is when the waiting days become heavy. During those waiting days, you start noticing what you did not notice before. You start noticing how fast everyone else seems to move. People celebrate new jobs. People announce big wins. People talk about new relationships, new homes, new plans, new life. Their stories sound like progress. Their lives look like motion. And then you look at your own life, and you see effort without proof. You see work without applause. You see movement that feels too small to matter. You begin to ask yourself questions you never asked when you were confident. Not just questions about timing, but questions about worth. Am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I missed my chance. Maybe I'm not good enough. And the hardest part is that nothing outside you is clearly wrong. There is no obvious disaster. There is no clear reason to explain the slowness. That makes it feel even more personal. Because when you cannot blame the world, you start blaming yourself. You start thinking that if things were meant to happen, they would have happened already. You start thinking that if you were truly capable, you would see results by now. You start thinking that you are falling behind in a race you never agreed to run. And the comparison becomes a quiet thief. It steals your peace in small pieces. It steals your ability to celebrate the little things. It steals your patience. It makes you feel like time is not passing in a normal way, but in a cruel way. Like the world is moving forward without you. In that space, impatience does not feel like anger. It feels like sadness. It feels like embarrassment. It feels like fear. Fear that you will always be waiting. Fear that your life will always feel like almost. Fear that you will spend your energy on something that never blooms. And when that fear grows, the heart begins to tighten. You become more sensitive to the signs you do not see. More aware of the doors that do not open. More aware of how quiet your progress feels. You begin to look for proof that your effort matters, and when you do not find it, you feel the weight of it in your body. In your shoulders. In your breath. In the way you fall asleep and wake up already tired. This is the pain of slow growth. It is a real pain. It is not dramatic, but it is deep. Because it is not pain that comes from one big moment. It is pain that comes from many small moments that add up. One more day with no change. One more week with no breakthrough. One more month where you are still working, still trying, still hoping, still waiting. And in that pain, there is a temptation. A temptation to rush. A temptation to force. A temptation to chase quick results just to feel something happen. A temptation to quit simply to stop the feeling of uncertainty. Because uncertainty is exhausting. It is hard to keep showing up when you do not know what the end will look like. So there comes a day when you feel like you are standing still, even if you are moving. A day when you realize you have been carrying pressure you did not name. A day when the effort feels heavy instead of hopeful. A day when you feel like asking for a sign, any sign, that your life is not stuck. But the sign does not come the way you expect. There is no loud message. There is no sudden miracle. There is no big moment. Instead, there is something quieter. A small moment of silence. It might happen in an ordinary place. It might happen in the middle of a normal day. And it does not look like a turning point when it happens. It simply feels like a pause. Like the world has stopped asking you to prove yourself for a moment. In that silence, you notice something you were too busy to notice before: how loud your own mind has been. How many thoughts you have been chasing. How many comparisons you have been carrying. How much you have been demanding from yourself. How little kindness you have been offering your own heart. In that small silence, the urgency softens. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because something inside you becomes still. Not empty, not defeated, just still. And in that stillness, you finally hear a truth that was hard to hear when you were rushing. Growth does not always feel like progress. Sometimes growth feels like waiting. Sometimes growth feels like repetition. Sometimes growth feels like slow days and quiet nights. And you begin to understand that patience is not supposed to feel comfortable. Patience is not the easy part of the journey. Patience is the part where you learn who you are when no one is clapping. Patience is the part where you learn to keep going without needing constant proof. That silence does not solve your problems. It does not give you everything you want. But it does give you something powerful, a shift in perspective. You start to see that the waiting days were not empty days. They were shaping days. They were building something inside you that you could not build in a season of quick success. Because quick success can make you excited, but it does not always make you steady. Quick results can make you feel proud, but they do not always make you strong. And sometimes, if you get what you want too soon, you will not know how to hold it. You will not have the roots to support it. You will not have the patience to maintain it. You will not have the wisdom to protect it. And that is when you realize something that changes the way you breathe. The hidden work has been happening. Not outside you, where everyone can see it. Inside you, where it matters most. The world measures success by what shows up on the surface. By what is visible. By what can be shared. By what can be proven. But real growth often happens in places that cannot be photographed. In moments of discipline. In moments of doubt where you still choose to show up. In moments of loneliness where you still choose to believe. In moments of slowness where you still choose to move. And patience is the space where that hidden work becomes possible. Patience is not just waiting for life to give you something. Patience is becoming the kind of person who can handle what is coming. Patience is building strength in quiet places. Patience is learning to trust your process, even when your progress is not obvious. Once that understanding settles into the heart, something changes. The outside may still look the same, but the inside is different. And when the inside is different, the journey feels different. You still wake up to the same life. You still have responsibilities. You still have goals. You still have things you want. But now you carry them differently. You stop demanding that everything happens quickly. You stop treating time like an enemy. You stop measuring your worth by speed. You begin to practice a new kind of patience. Not the passive kind that sits down and waits. The active kind that stays faithful in small steps. The kind that does not quit because the path is quiet. The kind that does not panic because the results are slow. You start focusing on what you can control. Not the timing of the outcome, but the consistency of your effort. Not the applause, but the integrity. Not the quick win, but the steady growth. And slowly, your mind becomes less loud. The comparisons become less powerful. The fear becomes less sharp. Because you begin to understand that your path is not supposed to look like everyone else's path. Your journey is personal. Your growth is unique. Your timing is not broken. Your timing is simply yours. And that is when patience becomes more than a word. It becomes a way of living. You learn to stay. You learn to stay when you are bored. You learn to stay when you are uncertain. You learn to stay when you feel like giving up. You learn to stay when your emotions rise and fall. You learn to stay steady even when your results are not. You learn to keep walking, not because you can see the finish line, but because you trust that each step is doing something, even when you cannot see what it is doing. And then comes a moment that looks almost too ordinary to matter. A day when nothing special happens. No big message arrives. No sudden breakthrough appears. No dramatic change takes place. It is the kind of day you might normally label as nothing. But this time, you notice something. You notice that you are calm. You notice that you are not racing the clock. You notice that you are not asking desperate questions. You notice that you are not measuring your life every 5 minutes. You still want good things. You still have dreams. But you are not holding them with panic. You are holding them with trust. You are holding them with patience. And that is a victory most people do not understand. Because it is not a victory that shows on the outside. It is not a trophy you can hold. It is not a photo you can share. But it is a victory that changes everything, the victory of being steady. The victory of not quitting. The victory of becoming someone who can wait without breaking. That is the moment where the story begins to turn, even though it does not look like it is turning. Because success is not always an event. Sometimes success is a process that becomes visible later. Sometimes success is the natural result of 1,000 quiet choices. And those quiet choices begin to add up. Not in a dramatic way. In a slow way. In the kind of way that feels almost invisible until you look back. You begin to notice small changes. Not huge changes, just small ones. You handle stress better. You recover faster from disappointment. You learn faster because you are not rushing. You become more consistent because you are not depending on motivation. You become more focused because you are no longer distracted by comparison. And one day, you see something that surprises you. A small result. A small win. A small sign that what you have been doing matters. It does not feel like fireworks. It feels like sunrise. Quiet, gentle, steady. But it is real. And because it is real, it touches your heart in a way loud success never could. Because now you know it did not come from luck. It came from patience. It came from staying when it was hard. It came from showing up in the quiet seasons. It came from trusting the hidden work. And as the days continue, the slow rise continues too. Not perfect. Not without struggle. But steady. Stronger than before. More rooted than before. More honest than before. You realize that you were growing long before you saw results. That your life was rising long before it looked like it was rising. That your patience was not wasted time. It was training time. It was building time. It was becoming time. And then the meaning becomes clear. Patience is not just waiting. Patience is not just doing nothing and hoping for the best. Patience is staying committed when the reward is delayed. Patience is choosing consistency over comfort. Patience is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, even when no one is praising you, even when you cannot see the end. Patience is trusting that small steps matter. Patience is respecting timing. Patience is believing that the best growth happens slowly, because slow growth builds strong roots. And success, real success, does not just come from talent or speed. It comes from depth. It comes from endurance. It comes from the ability to keep going when it would be easier to quit. That is why patience is powerful. Because patience is not weakness. Patience is strength with quiet confidence. Patience is courage without noise. Patience is faith in your own journey. And if your life feels slow right now, this story is here to remind you of something important. Slow does not mean stuck. Slow does not mean failing. Slow does not mean you are behind. Slow can mean you are growing in the invisible places. Slow can mean your roots are getting deeper. Slow can mean you are becoming stronger than you realize. You do not need to rush your life to prove your worth. You do not need to compare your journey to someone else's highlight. You do not need to panic because the results are taking time. You only need to keep walking. One small step at a time. One calm breath at a time. One day of patience at a time. Because when your moment comes, and it will come, you will not just rise. You will stay. You will stand steady. You will be ready. And that is the kind of growth that leads to success that lasts. Thank you for being here with me today. If this story spoke to your heart, take a second and tell me in the comments, what are you waiting for right now, and how are you staying patient? And if you want more motivational stories that help you grow your English and strengthen your mindset, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us. There are more stories coming, quiet, powerful stories for your journey. Until next time, keep going, keep growing, and keep believing in the power of patience.